Camera speeds. I always love that. That's like one of my geeky things from being on film sets that I just like hearing camera speeds. I just thought it was a neat phraseology. Steve Gabris, ING Photo. I am with the legendary Aaron Ingrao and my dog Sophia. Thanks for joining me today, Aaron.
You're welcome.
Really appreciate it. There's a plethora of photographic subjects we can cover, and we've already talked a little bit. We had to eat first. True to form, I fed my guest, and now we'll ask a few questions. I'm going to take my watch off so I can somewhat keep track of time. You are currently working on Keepers of the Craft. What do we got going? What's that? Did I get that right? Is that the name of the project?
Yeah, the full name is Keepers of the Craft Cocktails Across America.
Okay, cool. And this is kind of a book, GoFundMe. You've got a trailer. Okay.
It's gonna be a book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
After I produce the work.
You've already gotten underway though. You've done at least, so far as I know, about 5 different restaurants.
Locally.
Yeah, locally.
5. I'm gonna be doing a 6th. Angelica Tea Room. That's John Carroll's place. John Carroll and Carrie that own Buffalo property.
Now, where's that? Is that open yet, or where's that located?
Yeah, it's on. I forgot the name of the street. Was that Franklin?
Oh, okay.
The old Club Diablo. Space.
Oh, okay. So they're in there already.
Oh yeah, they've been open for a month or 2.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I'm a little behind the times when it comes to the
it's a really nice
and greatest.
place. They did a great job. It's beautiful in there.
Well, if John's involved with it, then I'm sure it's awesome.
Yeah, well,
that
Carrie,
kid doesn't
they both
miss.
have. They both have really good taste.
I'm not positive it was her. I'm pretty sure it was her. But I was in Wegmans yesterday. What's her name? Carrie?
Mm-hmm.
And she used to model?
She did used to model.
I was walking through Wegmans, and there was this amazing, one of the most beautiful creatures I've ever seen on the planet. I thought it was her, but it wasn't. And I was like, I'm at that age now where I can't be like, hey, how's it going? Or you're beautiful, or I like your shoes. It's like, my wife reminds me that I kind of have to just keep to myself. Unless you're photographing them, shut your mouth and move on. But anyway, I think it might have been her. So if you're listening to this, which you probably aren't, homage to her. Lindsay actually shot their wedding. Yeah, right, exactly. Here, there's this guy ogling you, this creeper. But yeah, Lindsay shot actually their wedding, which was pretty cool.
She did,
yeah. So I wanted to ask you. So I did look at your website this morning. I was kind of fanning through there, and I think there's a lot of things that you get right. Maybe in photography. But I think with the presentation of branding and marketing yourself and marketing your work, I think in the industry there's been this real shift in the last 10 or 20 years to kind of being your brand and being what it is that you're selling. And I'm horribly paraphrasing, but you talk about basically being on the edge and that kind of being what you're photographing.
I think that has to do with style. Yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day. Someone had brought up the fact that someone I was riding with in the group ride said that whenever he sees a photo and he says that's got to be an Aaron Ingrao photo, and it turns out it is. It was the best compliment I can get, because the hardest thing in the world is developing your own style. If you try to make it happen, it's not going to happen. If you think about it, it's not going to happen. It's just something that develops over time. Everybody's got their own unique everything. Everybody dresses different. Everybody has their own way of doing their hair. Everybody has their own way of expressing everything. Everybody's an individual. And your style of work, the creative look of your work, just is a reflection of who you are without you even knowing about it. And it happened with me without me even knowing about it. And I thought about it when I was coming up as a young photographer. What my style is, or not when I was coming up. I didn't think about trying to develop a style. That wasn't until probably about 7 or 8 years into it, not knowing if I had one yet or not. And before I knew it, I had developed a style over, I don't know, maybe 12, 15 years. And then that just happens by shooting constantly what it is you like to shoot. Like we were just saying before. I love it. I don't use lens hoods and I don't use filters. I like the sun just to pound right into that front element. I love it. I love lens flare. It's a reflection of the fact that I love summer and I love being outside. And that time of day is my favorite time of day. You know, when the day is waning towards the end of the day and the sun is low. You remember when you were a kid? In the summer, it's like, you know, 8:30, 9 o'clock, and the day's gonna be over soon. You know you're gonna have to go inside soon, but you want it to last forever. Just like your childhood, I guess. So I guess that's a reflection of that. I don't know. Maybe it's a reflection of not wanting to grow up. I don't know.
Well, and
It's
I think a
probably
lot of the
thinking a little too
subjects that you photograph are, you know, kids, maybe even at an aggressive level. There's a photo on your site of a guy, and I don't know what the move is called, but he's launching off of a ramp, and I think he's just holding onto the handlebars and his legs are hanging off.
Yeah, that's I forgot the rider's name. It's at Teva Mountain Games. They're in the slope style.
It's ridiculous.
It's a Superman. He's doing.
Oh, okay, Superman. Okay, fair. That seems fair.
He is a pro rider.
The other one I love that's in that vein is there's one of my favorite photos on the site actually is a picture of a kayaker, and he's like upside down and the water is just kind of rolling off the hull of the boat, and it's really fast.
Also Teva Mountain Games.
Oh, is that right? Okay.
Yeah, it's a artificial what do you call it? Under the water obstacle thing that creates a
like a turbine or whirlwind or pool.
Well, it's in the Vale Village. They have a river that goes right through the village, and that's where the kayaking, the playboats competition takes place. And you know they just activate it with a button.
Oh wow!
And so they can come up and they just stay in one spot. It's like it's like they're surfing a spot.
Wave pool kind of thing.
Something like that, yeah. So that. And then, when they want to get out of it, they just paddle out of it. So yeah, they do on purpose. They go upside down and they flip. And these guys in the playboat kayaks are amazing. It's mountain biking is my subject. That was shooting mountain biking was a marriage of two loves, photography and mountain biking, which is why I got into photography in the first place, because I was so into mountain biking, I wanted to capture it. So, but kayaking I don't know so well, but I just like shooting it when I can, which is not often because you don't really come across those guys in playboats very often. So.
Well, I find the laws, the rules, maybe, of photography really interesting, and how we were talking a little bit before about how we learn what we learn, lessons we learn, when and how they translate. I mean, I did some work for Sean Hanley of Shutter Dream for the Bills and whatnot, and you photographing, and it actually worked this way, photographing football players at 2000 ISO f4, 2000th of a shutter speed f4 and whatever ISO it takes to get there, on usually AI servo focus and positioning and all these other things that go into that, but trying to get some of those shots translated to me photographing figure skaters.
Oh, well,
and it's like, first of all, I never thought I would photograph figure skaters, but a gig came along. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was money, and I took the gig. But I knew a little bit about the math, and I was like, well, I'm pretty sure...
It's amazing to watch.
It is. They were... That was a really cool event, really.
Yeah, that and rollerblading. But I could do the same things on the rollerblades as I was doing on the skates. I didn't have a dream to be a skater. It's not like that. I mean, I'd be sleeping and I would have the dreams
sure.
of being an ice skater and being able to do that. Which translates, I would have dreams when I was a skateboarder, being able to do anything I want on my mountain bike or on a skateboard. Rollerblades, I don't know why rollerblading, I don't rollerblade. And then and ice skating. Those 3 things. 4 things. Always. I don't I can just do whatever I want and be as good as a pro.
It's pretty amazing, and the level of just the stamina to get through a circuit. It's a pounding. I mean, you can, from the sidelines there, you can hear their bones and their skin hit the ice when they go down, and they've got to get right back up and keep going.
That's gross.
It's pretty brutal. It's brutal. I mean, it's as tough as any sport I've seen, but I think, like we say though, it's really interesting the things that we learn or come across along the way that gets us to the next thing, and hopefully you take a piece of that and apply it over here. And I kind of see that with some of the work that you've done, like you're saying, photographing mountain biking and then shooting, kayakers or other things that you do out there. And a lot of your stuff too it's not, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's natural light or not, but I know that a lot of times you're throwing a flash in there to either freeze motion or give it a little bit of sharpness.
Yeah, because I have a tendency to throw the sun right in my shots. If my subject is between me and the sun, I have to throw light on whether I like it or not. I prefer not to use any light if I don't have to. I prefer all natural light. So in those instances, I'd have to, as much as I don't like talking about gear and f-stops and shutter speeds and all that. It's a conversation I don't really like, but I don't mind explaining shots. So for like that particular Superman shot, the guy doing a Superman in Vail, Colorado, I had 4 flashes, 4 hot shoes, all set to half power, so that the flash duration isn't, because the flash duration at full power is way too long. And actually, when you get really close and you look at the raw photo of that, he's soft. Because even half wasn't quite enough to really, really freeze him the best that I wanted him to, because he's going really fast.
Right.
So, at 4, and you can see those, and since I was shooting so wide with a fisheye, you could see the lenses in the shot at the top of the
All right, come on.
jump.
Sit down.
So I actually I had to Photoshop out the flashes because they were so obtrusive in the photo.
Sure.
So yeah, you gotta do that. You gotta throw light in there when you're working with the sunset, because then he would just be. If I wanted that lens flare and the sky exposed, so I have some detail in the clouds, because I hate just overexposed white clouds. I like seeing detail in the clouds because I think they're really, really pretty. And so if you want that, you gotta really stop down like crazy. And if you stop down like crazy, you gotta throw a shit ton of light at your subject. And if you're gonna do that, you gotta have a whole lot of light power. So
you start getting into like those pro photos and stuff that recycle.
Well, in my case, no, I just use 4 SB 800s.
Which is great. It goes to my point, though. I think that of being
SB 800s are those hot shoe flashes. They're Nikons. For those of you who are not photographers, sorry.
It's okay. There's only like 4 people watching this, so it's all good. My mom is actually one of them. Hi, Mom. I don't know why my mom watches these.
I'll throw a link.
There's lots of stuff on Netflix. I mean, I don't know why you're watching this. But
yeah.
Okay, so I'm a little all over the place, but I think I've got a point or a thing in mind.
Sure.
Going back to kind of, for me, camera speeds and the notion of kind of neat things. I like behind the scenes, behind the set, what's going on behind. And one of the things that I know that you did for a while is you actually worked on some film sets. Am I wrong about that? You were, I don't know if it was acting or you were an extra or what, but you were working in film for a while.
That was, Christ, how long ago was that now?
I don't have to date you with this. I just,
No, it's okay.
But you worked in film for a while.
18 years ago?
Oh, wow. Okay.
In Los Angeles. I lived in Los Angeles for about a year and a half. I did background work. I didn't do anything technical. I wasn't even, it was just when I started thinking about becoming a photographer. And then when I came back after that year and a half in 01, 02, I can't remember. That's when I gave myself to photography. I met Jim Cavanaugh.
Great guy. Great guy. I've got to get him on the show eventually.
Yeah,
hopefully we'll fly and we'll be reviewing him while we fly.
I'm sure he'd be happy to do it. He's a great guy.
He's a great guy. I've always been very forthright, giving ASAP a photographer. But does that stuff translate, or did you bring stuff from LA and that portion of your life over to film?
No, I wasn't happy in LA. By the time I left, all I wanted to do was get the hell out of there. I had gone out. I was a fine art major, photo track. But before that, I was a theater major, and I thought I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah, but being in theater though, you have an understanding of blocking and lighting and people expression.
Yeah, sure.
Psychology.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I suppose. I don't know that I learned anything. I learned some. Watching some of the guys and what they do with the equipment, I suppose. And lighting. Okay.
Well, how those sets
how they make it look like it's daylight. And when you're in a room inside,
Right.
but it's actually midnight because they
Big
have a
diffusers,
20,000 they have a 20,000 watt light that's this big shining into the window.
Sure.
It's the 20K Ari. That thing is, you can't look at it, and you can't touch it for an hour after you turn it off because it's so hot. The thing is a monster. Jim's got the little small versions.
The 250s.
Little 2K. He has got a 2K. That's this big. Now just imagine getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and just so big that you literally need a machine to pick it up, or a guy with lots of muscles.
The film that I was working on was downtown. They actually blocked off basically the whole area right around City Hall Court, and they had I think they call it a condor, but they had one of those cherry pickers, and they had, I don't know if it was a 20K, but it was a big ass light.
Oh yeah, to
hopped
get
up
height.
there
Sure.
to give it a little bit of fill.
Make it look like sun.
No, it was night, so it was made to give it rim. It was meant to actually, I think, give it like either accent or make it look like a hot street lamp kind of spilling into the background.
There's one thing there's one thing television and film does is over stylize. If you ask me, it's why you ever notice that the streets. You ever notice the streets in movies and TV at night?
No, how do you mean? They're wet or?
They're always wet.
Yeah.
Before every scene, they have a truck with spouts on either end. It goes down because it looks better because the light reflects off the street.
Sure, a lot more detail.
You'll notice it shows like CSI.
Yeah.
All the police stations. There's no police station on the planet that looks like that.
Biff has got a great theory, and I think it applies to a lot of stills too. Is if you could tell that it was lit or how it's lit, then someone didn't do their job.
Then someone didn't do their job. Well,
I don't know. I mean, you can argue that both ways.
If we can tell, that's different.
But we can tell, right? I mean, that's what we live and look. Or at least that's what I live and look for all the time. I'm always looking at that stuff.
If you can reverse engineer it,
totally.
But most non-photographers aren't going to be able to reverse engineer what it looks like on TV the way we could.
And for me, working in cinema, although briefly, and doing some stills and seeing how a big operation like that works, has been really influential to me. I think in how I look at images. I wouldn't say that my image making is or has become cinematic, but I really have an appreciation for the production as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. I got that on architectural photography.
Oh, okay.
For sure, because a lot of them are such big productions.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't remember the photographer's name. What is the photographer's name? Who's his single shots that take forever to set up? He's a fine art guy.
You talking about the space shuttle?
No. Talking about the fine art photographer who does these sort of memories. Oh God, what is it? I can't remember.
Not Dwayne Michaels. Dwayne Michaels.
No, not Dwayne Michaels. He'll make a photograph of it'll be a city street, and maybe there's a car here in the driveway, and someone's standing in the middle of the street. It's lit very cinematically, but it's a single shot.
Right.
There's a lot of work done to it.
Oh, sure.
There's very cinematic quality to it. So I enjoy that. I enjoy, while I don't like talking so much, the whole gear sex thing and talking about f-stops and all that. I enjoy the problem solving and making an image look as much as I can make it look the way I want in camera. To me, my goal is making the shot look as much as I want it to look like in camera before it ever touches Photoshop.
Well, which is a great segue to, I think that locally, anyway. Lewis, go ahead, get up there. Good boy.
Come on. Shed on me some more.
Lay down, bud.
I don't have enough hair on me.
Lewis, lay down, buddy.
Hi, bring it.
He'll eventually lay down, maybe.
Come on. We've got another shield right there. There you go.
Okay. I think you have a reputation of being kind of outspoken, which is maybe one of the reasons why you and I get along.
A little bit. Gets me in trouble sometimes. Just growl me.
He did. There's going to be a biting on camera. Can we edit that out? Actually, he does do that to a handful of people. It's weird because he's okay, but he's not okay, but he's letting you know that he doesn't want you to do that, but he might bite you, but he's not sure.
Well, Luke likes me to grab his paw and put my fingers between his toes and massage between his toes.
That's pretty funny.
It makes him relax. So, I won't touch your paw again, I promise. You promise not to take any skin off.
Yeah, they're all different.
So you were saying?
Well, I just think that I think you have a reputation of being somewhat of a purist, and outspoken about that. Like
I am, and I'm an absolute snob about it too, and I'm okay with it.
And you're unapologetic about that.
Yes.
So
when it comes to art, I am okay being a snob about it because if you're gonna engage in it, then don't be mediocre about it. And if you're gonna be engaged in it, then be as pure as you can with it. If it's a photograph, it's a photograph. If 75% of what you do is post, then it's not a photograph anymore. It's graphic design.
Right.
And don't call it a photograph. That's my opinion.
Sure.
But whatever. Art is art. You call it. It's art. It's fine. It can look great. And it's gonna look great. And it can still be beautiful. But is it a photograph anymore? I don't know. But the point is, if I'm gonna make a photograph, there's a shot that I've always wanted to get that's been very technically hard for me to put together, where I want to do a cityscape shot, urban guy on a bike, but I wanted to do a sequence shot in camera, but I want it to be long exposure so that any cars going by have the long streets, mm-hmm. while also achieving the thing that I just said, a sequence shot. Now, why is that difficult? Because a sequence shot is a high shutter speed shot, right? But I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it with one exposure and just have access to lights and just hit the light and expose him as he goes by, and he's the only thing exposed. But how do I do that and have this and not have, because if you leave the shutter open, what happens? The ambient light overexposes everything.
Right.
So it's the only way to do it, so far as I can tell, is putting two photographs together. Well, the sequence images along with the plate being the cityscape shot. That's your plate, right? And then you take the other components and you put them together with the plate. I don't want to do it that way though. I want to do it in camera. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it. I think I can, but
you could probably do it with multiple exposures, in my opinion.
I can. I know I can.
Well, no, I mean multiple exposure in camera, like the actual setting. Yeah, right. So you could do it that way.
But not while also achieving the long exposure streak of light sort of thing. Because, again, that's your plate.
Right. But what it comes down to, and as a photographer right now, doing some of this work that I really like, but I think you have to really play around with the variation in those exposures to get the camera to make that balance, because it's a tricky shot to get in that regard.
By the way, this might be the reason why there's only 4 listeners.
Why is that?
Because we're starting to talk about things that no one wants to hear about. They're like,
what's funny?
These guys talking about.
It's pretty funny because I'll sit with Lindsay Cave, and she and I, we could talk about one camera body and what we shot with that and what we're trying to shoot and just kind of inane things for an hour. And I'm like, oh yeah, we didn't even talk about like, hey, how's your husband and what's your summer like? Yeah, he's being persnickety. I'm not sure what his deal is.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
But yeah, no, that for sure. Well, but I think that the podcast or this video, the vlog, is really more for me, frankly, to get the opportunity to sit down with other people that I want to have these conversations with. I think that they're interesting.
Hey, listen, if I get 4 people to listen to anything I have to say, that's an achievement.
Well, so anyway, segueing from this notion of maybe of purism and somewhat being outspoken and holding to that, I do have a level of respect for, and I always have had a level of respect for, this notion that you might be outspoken on something and say something and speak your mind, and people might not agree with you or tact or the lack thereof or whatever. But I think that the message or the dialogue or the conversation isn't couched. I mean, it's right there. Like if that happens, I think that you're not guarded. You're not really holding anything back. It's like, no, this is what I think. It's right here in front of you, and we can have a dialogue about that. But this is what it is. You know, I don't think it's like, it's not like we're having a legal conversation about legalese. Well, the statute says, but I feel this way, but it's not, you know, and it's kind of like, there's no, it's very like, there's nothing hidden, I feel like. I feel like, you know, maybe there's no hidden fees.
No.
Okay.
You know, photography is a tough business. And if you have questions about it and you're up and coming, and if you can't handle the truth about that, you're not going to make it in this business.
Yeah, that's
I mean,
true.
I have to balance that with the fact that I know that it can be abrasive. But it's not for the sake of being abrasive. It's just that these are the facts, and that's all there is to it. I'm not going to give you flowers while I'm giving you the facts.
Well, and I think it's got to be a tough thing for you, I'm sure, at times to balance. But again,
That is.
Aaron Ingrao is Aaron Ingrao. The work is what the work is, and the work is strong, it's sharp, it's clean, it's saturated, it's a lot of different things. It's telling a story, and then the subject matter is all of those things. So again, with being in line with that narrative and the branding, it's all sort of true. It's all kind of on the same path. It's all the same sort of narrative, in my opinion. That's how I kind of look at it. There's not one thing that's a huge difference from the other. They're all kind of just there. You know, I find like myself, like some of my portraits are really soft. You know, I'm shooting at 1:4 natural light. You know, maybe an eye's in focus. I have to clone the other eye in because it's so out of focus or whatever. But like, I'm not one of those high key.
I've done that. No, I've done that because if the black and white portrait series.
Oh yeah.
I'm shooting at 1:4 and I'm this far from this.
Right. There's no depth of field.
So if the slightest movement, I don't care what's in focus. I don't care if everything in that photo is out of focus. The only thing I care about is the eyes. The eyes need to be in focus. And just the slightest movement, back or forward, when you're shooting that shallow depth of field, is going to put the eyes out of focus.
Oh,
and
sure.
if you find that perfect expression, and out of the, let's say, because I have to shoot a lot to make sure I get that, if they sway just slightly, so I shoot a bunch of photos, and you find that one perfect expression, but they happen to have moved back just slightly, so maybe one eye is out of focus because it's turned a little bit, so the plane of focus is a little off axis, then yes, I will. But it's okay to only have one eye in focus, as long as it's the dominant eye being the closest to the lens. That's fine. It's absolutely fine. But if both eyes are out of focus, it's a useless shot. I don't use it. I don't show it. I just sits on my hard drive.
I never want to show a technically imperfect image, and I have plenty of them, so that's maybe a false statement, but in the sense that, like, hey, focus is blown or exposure is blown, like those usually get cut. But like you say, I do find myself, if I just did an edit on one, and I find that pretty much every time I'm out in the field, I'll have an image that is not tack sharp, and you're looking at one and you can see it at whatever the crop zoom is, and it's like the eyes are sharp, and then the next one, you're not the star here. The next one is just a little off. Yeah. So come on, hey, lay down.
Come on, you.
Lay down.
There you go.
The next one is off, and I will use the image. If there's something special happening with the image, like you said, an expression or something unique, I will keep it because I think that it's worth it. Unless it's just it's just unusable. But if it's a little soft, I find that I will keep it because I think it has value either to the overall story or it has value to the client.
Maybe in context, yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
sometimes I will keep those. But I think going back to the idea of like me shooting natural, high key stuff, that's not my style. It's not my identity, but I do keep it in there. I keep it in there either because I want to show I could do it, or I want to garner a certain client. And I don't know, I mean, I'm kind of in the middle of changing a few things right now. But I don't know that does me any good. You know, to have stuff in there that I don't want to shoot, or maybe that isn't my style.
You and I talked about this a while ago. I think we talked about this. It must be, I think it's about 5 years ago now that we talked about this.
Ouch, that long?
Yeah, I think so. Where you were. I hope you don't mind me bringing this up.
No, not at all. I need to make coffee for it though.
Yeah, you were struggling with finding your identity as a photographer.
Yeah.
And what you want to shoot.
Yeah.
And I over the couple of times that I've spoken to photo classes and lectured, and when I used to be on the board as a president and vice president, and the questions that I would get at the time, because you get contacted a lot, of people who are wondering what they should be shooting or trying to figure out what they should shoot, or they've been at it for a little while and they just don't know what to shoot is, well, why a camera? You know, I started shooting because I love photography, and it was I've always loved photography, but in '94 I started working at a bike shop, and that year that I was working at a bike shop, picked up a magazine was published for the first year called Bike Magazine, and it was a very photocentric magazine, not just, you know, photos of a bike, and they talk about the bike. They used some of the best photographers, I think out of the British Columbia region, because I know they were using a guy, Sterling Lawrence, and a couple other guys, but you'd open it up. I remember this first segment. You open up and there's a 2-page spread of just a mountainside, a trail winding, and you know, 2-page spreads this big, little guy on a mountain bike,
Right.
as though he's the secondary subject.
Sure.
But really, he's the primary subject. It's a bike magazine. But then there's a twist of that too, because he's not the primary subject. This is the primary subject, because that's why we're out there mountain biking in the first place, because we love that so much, being outside and being out in the mountains. And I saw that stuff, and when I started mountain biking was around 92, 93, and so I started working at a bike shop, and I just saw that, and I just thought it was amazing. I want to do that. I want to take pictures of mountain biking, not because I want to be a photographer. I don't know if I thought about it that way. It was my means of capturing it, of expressing myself. I needed a way to express myself. I knew that. I was a typical creative with no creative outlet, and so that's what I started doing. So when I get that question, what should I be shooting? I can't figure out what I want to shoot. Well, put the camera away then. Put it away and pick up a paintbrush. Did you figure out what you want to paint? No. Then put it away. You know, I don't know. I mean, I know there are people out there that do weddings, and I'm not disparaging wedding photography or any wedding photographer.
Oh, good, because I'd stand up for us and all the other ones.
No, I've shot weddings. And the only reason I don't like shooting weddings is because I can't mentally handle all those photos. I cannot sit there at my computer and do that anymore. It makes me go out of my mind all that time it takes to do that. That's why I don't really like doing it anymore. But the actual act of doing the wedding isn't so bad, although Lindsay D'Addario would say different. She thinks I think it's all kooky, which I kind of do in a way, but I still tear up a little bit when if it's a couple I can see they're actually in love.
Sure.
But anyway, I know there's some that just do it as a business, and that's cool. As long as they're good at it, they're making money at it. Good. I have nothing to say about that. But I consider photography an art form, just like any other art form. Maybe it's not as high art as someone who can create an incredible painting or a drawing or anything like that. I don't have the patience for that kind of thing. My artistic outlet is the camera. And so I picked up that to express what I needed to express. That comes first. Mountain biking was something I loved, and I wanted to capture it. So if you don't have something you love, if you don't have photography doesn't exist. Forget about photography, forget about the camera, forget about that shit for the moment. What in life are you passionate about? What do you care so much about in life that you need or want to capture? If you don't have that, you're going to have a very difficult time finding a style, finding something, and finding a career. And because really you got to have a brand, you got to have a style if it really is going to burgeon, right? If it's really going to take off.
Yeah, it's funny.
And even when those things come together, if you suck at marketing or selling yourself like I do, then you're going to have a problem. But that art form, that thing that you want to capture has to come first. That passion of what that thing is has to come first. Not a passion for photography. A passion for photography makes no sense. A passion for that thing that you want to capture is what makes sense. And the photography happens to be the tool that you're using to capture that thing.
We had a professor in college. He was great. I think his mantra was photography is just the horse that the art rode in on. You know, it kind of.
I like that.
It sums it up pretty astutely.
I like that.
I get asked often, you know, what do you shoot? You know, if you're having like dinner conversation, someone asks you like, oh, what do you do? You're a photographer. Oh, what do you photograph? What do you shoot? And my answer, you know, always is whatever pays the bills. And
at some point that has to be the case. There's lots of shit that I shot that I'm bored with it.
Well,
And you have to. If you're a photographer, you're a photographer, and you got to do this stuff.
See, but the thing I think
But still chase your passion.
The thing I think I learned a long time ago, and I believe it's Jessica is one of the people, and I think everyone does it to some extent or another. It comes up with side projects and does things on the side to, like you said, to kind of fill the creative niche, to keep you fresh and shooting whatever the pain gauge.
Well,
are.
yeah.
But the thing that I going back to that kind of that question in it, you know, I've been searching for a brand and an identity in my images for a long time. But
you gotta stop searching.
Well, exactly. I think what I've come to find, or at least in the last year, I've kind of come to the understanding, or at least the thought for me that I'm not searching. I'm happy with the work, and I'm pretty happy with where I am as a professional at the moment. I think we're always looking to the future to figure out what the next job is, or how to challenge yourself, or create, or what have you. But a lot of it goes back to, for me, meeting and working with Casey Kratt. You know, I forget where we were, but this was like right around the time when I left school. I did some assistant work for Casey, and we went and we shot, I forget where we were, but we shot like a daycare center in Saratoga. And then we shot like a car dealership in Rochester. And then we shot like a bank somewhere, maybe in Buffalo, and we shot like a really large scale national florist somewhere in between. And that, and really every shoot, but particularly that job back then, I just thought of the people that we met, the locations that we had been at, just like how cool this was. And I find myself doing that now still. I mean, I was in February, I was in Seattle photographing fish sticks. I like to say fish sticks because it's about as banal as it sounds. But you know, I got to travel to Syracuse.
Were they frozen?
They were frozen fish sticks for 2 weeks. But you know, I got to go to Seattle. I got to work in these facilities. I got to meet these people, and I got to do my craft. And at the end of the day, get paid for it. And I don't have a complaint coming to me. I learned a lot of new things about how I approach the camera and the subject and people and different things. But at the end of the day, I enjoy those places. I enjoy the challenge of having to, you know,
things that are ancillary to,
you know,
photography.
people hire us. People hire us, and they're like, you know, hey, I need a picture of that car. Okay, you know, you figure out all the other stuff, you know, the usage and what they want it to look like, and all these other things that go into the shoot. That would be like a whole 2-hour segment, maybe more. But you know, you're hired to photograph this car, you know, and you go in and you photograph it. And I think what I at this point in my life anyway, I think one of the main things besides our personalities and the quality of work that we produce is people want to know that you get the job done. You know, they want to know that they're going to pay you whatever they're going to pay you, and at the end of the day, they're going to get their product.
Sure.
Because how many times does it happen where it comes out wrong, you have to pay and reshoot it, everyone has to be rescheduled, the car has to be flown in again, or whatever it is. They want to know that they are going to be able to get their job delivered the way they want it. And kind of going back to the thing, well, what pays? I've kind of come to a point where I take a great deal of pride in someone paying me to deliver something, and they know what they're going to get. I'm going to show up and I'm going to do this job that you're paying me to do. And I don't know, it's taken me a really long time to get there, but I have a lot of, I guess, pride in that, you know. And it's
That's
not always
good.
the most glamorous thing in the world.
It's not always.
But at the end of the day, you know, it is what it is.
You're not always going to get. You know, every job isn't like that. Sometimes you're going to shoot jobs that are just kind of pluck my eyeballs out. This is boring, but it pays the bills.
Well, so to that end, though, you have taken on something that maybe without even knowing it, I think takes into account all of the things that we've talked about, all of the different styles and the lessons and the people you've met and the experiences you've had, and really boiled it down to this one moment right now where you've got a project that you're trying to go cross country. You know, you're getting private funding, you're doing some hired work to get some of these shots of, I'm assuming in exchange for the restaurateur or what have you. I mean, you've really taken a very ambitious role.
No, I'm not taking any money from the restaurants.
Oh, okay.
Or from the bars.
Well, so tell us about this current endeavor. I mean, it's pretty voluminous, it's heady, it's ambitious, but it's great in that it is what it's you. You know?
It started when I had a photo shoot out in Phoenix. I was shooting harpists. They were about to embark on a world tour. This duo, harpists. The woman was the head of the music department at Arizona State, and her partner. Oh my God, I forgot what he does, other than plays the harp beautifully. I'd met them in the Hudson Valley at an art gallery, and they were playing. And so they liked my work, and they flew me out to do promo shots for their tour. And turns out harpists are pretty damn cool people, man. The music is beautiful. But anyway, I was out there for a week, so I took a drive out to meet an old friend, Tim Stevens. He was from Buffalo, but he's living out. He's back now. A lot of people know who he is in Buffalo, in the bar scene. He was out there working in a bar and called Prohibition, and I went and visited for a couple days, and he took me out, and it was a hell of a night. I'll never forget it. It was my introduction to the classic cocktail and the whole cocktail scene that hadn't hit Buffalo yet, but was in the bigger cities: New York, San Diego, Los Angeles, maybe Chicago at the time. I don't know what the timing is, but that was my introduction. And I thought it was amazing. I thought it was awesome. We got pretty drunk, but it wasn't like we weren't, pounding shots. It was nothing like that. It was just a long night of sustained drinking, very good drinks. So I came back and there was nothing around. And then Vera finally opened. I was working on this thing called the Passion Project. Vera was the first subject among many chefs. Bicycle frame builders, and that's an ongoing project. But anyway, out of that was born Keepers of the Craft Cocktails Across America, because I love cocktails and I love whiskey. And so I came up with the idea of getting on the road cross country and doing this project, and staying on the road for a year, because I absolutely love traveling. I just love being on the road. I love meeting new people. I love just seeing the country and just shooting whatever I want. And that freedom, to me, ultimately, it's that freedom that is what puts me out there, because I could not absolutely imagine a life of 9 to 5. It would kill me. So being out on the road is something I really enjoy. So I figured I'd produce the work and publish a book. And so a local agency called 19 Ideas did the branding for the project. I contracted them to do that, and they're designing the book, so I'll come back for the design stage. And it's been a tough road getting it off the ground, so I'm going the sponsorship route, trying to get, I tried the crowdsourcing thing a while ago. Didn't really work. I should have sort of waited till the book and just done it for the actual book costs, but I had no idea what I was doing with Kickstarter. This is all new to me. Asking people for money, sponsorship money, is not easy. So,
well, it's funny because not Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm trying to think of the guy's name now. Anyway, there's a YouTube personality guy, Casey Neistat, and he talks about getting his app off the ground and having to basically grub for money. Large checks.
And then he sold it.
Right, but he sucked it up and made it happen. And it was So I imagine you're kind of going through that at this point.
It's hard. Well, I finally got a prospectus together. That was at the behest of my friend John Carroll. He's like, you got to put a good document together, and I did that. So now I'm embarking on trying to find sponsorship that way. A couple of irons in the fire, coals in the fire, irons on the fire. What the hell's the analogy?
Irons
in the fire, whatever. But it's been tough going. So, and I'm learning as I go. But getting on the road and doing it, it's called Keepers of the Craft Cocktails Across America, which is just sort of a fun name. It's not really about the cocktail. It's not at all about the cocktail, as a matter of fact. It's not about drinking. It's not about the cocktail. Everybody's, it sounds like you're going to have fun. You could be drinking a lot. You could be having, it's not about that. I'll probably be drinking less on the road than I ever do just being here in Buffalo. It's about the bartenders, and it's not about bartending. It's just about the passion those particular people bring to their industry, because they're so passionate about what they do. They really, really are. And I thought, and I'm drawn to that, given my passion for what I do. And because I do like cocktails, I thought it was a cool marriage of the two subjects. So it's an exploration of cocktail culture by way of making portraits of bartenders, and then also studying ancillary subjects to the industry, barrel makers, whiskey distilleries, bitters makers, whatever I find interesting, whatever I feel like shooting while I'm on the road.
The images I've seen so far, I mean, they've just been incredible. I think at least one of them came up from Crit Night, ASMP Crit Night, and I've seen some of the stuff on social and on your page, and it's really, really,
thank you.
You know, splendid work. So I look forward to the stuff that continues to come out of it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm I keep saying, oh, I'll be getting on the road soon. I'll get on the road soon, but it really does all depend on the money. So, ideally, I'd like to spend the summer here, and
it's a good time of the year
save
to be here.
money. There's not a better summer spent than in Buffalo. There really isn't. I lived all over the country. Get on the road in the fall, and then head south, head those bars first, and then head west. And although for the viewers, south and then west, and then photographing anything else I want. I've always wanted to go to Montana and shoot cattle ranches. I don't know why, but I do. I think it's cool. And there's there's so much. America's crazy. It's a crazy country. I just want to meet people and shoot things.
It seems to be an odd exodus, because you're the one of three that I know of people who are doing, not this particularly, but similar exodus, and sort of are kind of going national. So
yeah, well, I think one.
I'm not gonna say you didn't start it.
I don't know. Although I think Scott and I had the idea start at the same time. He just got it done a lot faster. Yeah. And then Iggy McDonald, I think, got on the road to do a big project.
He did.
I don't know what he was shooting, though. I haven't seen it.
Alaska, he's put some work out there for it. It was the Aurora Borealis. He did some dog sledding.
Did he see it?
It's cool stuff.
I'm going to have to go look at his site.
Yeah, it's great.
His work's gotten so much better.
His stuff is awesome. But I think he's going to be traveling more as well. I don't know how much longer he's going to stay in the area. I know he's here for the summer, but I think he, like you, fall might be his cutoff. So.
Well, listen, you never know what twists and turns life takes, but my objective is to produce the work for the project, come back here, have 19 ideas, publish the book, unless I happen to find a publisher. I'm publishing the book. Have them design the book, unless I find a publisher, in which case, hopefully they can pick up the cost. Then after that, after the book is out and gone and done, I don't plan on staying in Buffalo. Not because I don't love Buffalo.
You don't know. You might be back here.
You never know. I understand that, but my objective is to, if the road treats me well, stay on the road, do another project. If not, end up in some small town in Colorado.
You're like an FSA photographer almost. Well, and that note,
one of the first color guys and color photographer guys in the 1920s when they were shooting Kodachrome.
Kodachrome.
Yeah.
So where can we find you? Where can we follow you? Where can we find you?
It's aaroningrao.com, AARONINGRAO.com. Then there's Keepers of the Craft Instagram, my name Instagram, Aaron Ingrao Instagram, and then there's a Keepers of the Craft Facebook page, which I'll start feeding again as soon as I have some new work to feed it. And I did manage to nail down cocktailsacrossamerica.com, which I couldn't believe was
for the URL or the
yeah. So I'm going to I'll build a website when I have enough work to build it out to have a separate website, because I thought about that as a name, but I never.
But you locked down the name, so that's key.
I couldn't believe it was available. Even GoDaddy rep on the phone was like, "Oh my God, it's available."
Yeah, right. Buy it. He's like, "If you don't, I will."
Yeah, I bought it immediately. So yeah.
Well, I'm Steve Gabris, ING Photography. I want to thank Aaron for his time. That's all I got. More to follow from this guy real soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks.